We begin in the Western Cape, where the rescue and recovery mission at the scene of the collapsed George building is finally complete. The construction site has now been handed over to police for investigations. Newzroom Afrika Sipha Kema joins us live now from that site with an update. Sipha, I'm sure it must be an incredibly heartbreaking day for the families of those who still haven't found their loved ones.
Well, Michelle, certainly. Now, before I get into that, the numbers and what exactly has happened to the 19 unaccounted for, I just want to first take you through the scene, because if you remember, we weren't, able to really take you through as this was still an active crime scene when they were looking for the bodies as well as survivors. So I'm going to take you from here now. As you can see, they've actually taken down the fencing that was here where the flowers used to be laid. They've actually removed the fencing from here now, Michelle, at the entry point, and we're seeing the red tape has also been removed. And now we're going to move in to the construction site as I tell you about what Mr. Anton Bredal, the MEC of local government, said. Now, he confirmed to us with a final briefing that the search and rescue mission has been completed. But however, some of the teams have not been pulled out yet, but we can confirm that some of the rescue teams, such as the K9 service and those that were on the ground, have actually gone back to your city of Cape Town, Worcester, Gauteng. As you remember, many of the rescue teams from various regions came to assist those here in George. But now that the mission is over, they have gone back. And now we're just going to take you through right up to the end so that we can show you what we saw earlier on when MEC Bredal took us to the actual site. And the only thing that you can see there, Michelle, is really just a void. They've dug deeper than the basement level and the foundation. All you can see now is sand, and that's what they're taking out now. It's just the sand. Everything else has been removed. The rubble has been removed. Anything from the construction site is gone. But however, they have not disposed of it because it is still evidence. So they still need to keep it. Now, there's a particular site where they have actually gone to tip the sand, the rubble, and the bricks, so that the police can start looking through the materials that were used to build as part of the evidence. Now we can see that we're moving along. Before we couldn't do this as it was an active scene. Now we just want to show you exactly what you are seeing or what you have not been seeing for the past few days. But right now what you're seeing is just a hollow part or evidence left of the construction building that was once here. Now, MEC Bredal spoke to us earlier on, talking about the end of the search and rescue mission, Michelle. And these are the words that he said and used basically to describe the work that was done by the rescue teams, and also officially letting us know that the search and rescue mission has come to an end.
No, the search and rescue is completed. I was very pleased this morning to report to the Premier, and also thank you to the Premier for his leadership during this event or disaster. We've, unfortunately, as you know, 33 fatalities, 29 people still in hospital or alive, so 10 of those are still in hospital. The search and rescue teams have done brilliant work. They've rescued 34 people. That's a 54.8% rescue rate. If you compare this to any earthquake site to world standards, then you're lucky if you get 10% people out. So the search and rescue teams, we can be very proud of them.
And now, Michelle, we hear him talking about the numbers and how many have been rescued. Now, just to confirm, rescued and recovered 62. Of that 62, 33 have been confirmed deceased. And of the deceased, 4 still need to be formally identified, and 29 are still alive or surviving or in hospital. Now, he also spoke to us. I know maybe people are asking, what has happened to the 19 people that were unaccounted for now that they've finally reached this stage of the search and rescue mission, where we're seeing that the site is empty and clear of rubble, or any foundation. While he did mention that there was a bit of an issue with the numbers, they could not confirm whether the numbers that were given by the contractor and the subcontractors were actually correct, because it seems as though the subcontractors were allegedly getting workers off the field and were not formally verifying workers with their identity documents or any form of identification. And it seems as though some of those workers were using their nicknames, as well as some from the other countries were actually using different names that the embassies themselves could not recognize. And so he spoke about that and the numbers, saying that also, Michelle, I think one of the most shocking things he said that they found 5 of those that were unaccounted through the help of their colleagues that survived here, that were able to identify them physically, working at another construction site. It seems as though during the lunch break, the 5 then left this construction site to go work on another construction site, even though they were registered for this particular one. So this is what MEC of Local Governments in the Western Cape, Anton Bradal, had to say regarding those numbers.
Yeah, remember when you enter the site, we asked, the search and rescue team asked the people, how many people are we looking for? While they're asking that question, they start to search and rescue people. And the figures was all over the place. We acknowledge that, but it's not our fault. It's the contractor. We struggled to get the names, the subcontractors, and then also nicknames. People were known by nicknames. And then a very difficult one, we had a conversation with the embassies. Also, people changed their names quite often. So the figures, we've been honest, when we started off, they said something like 69 people. That was then after talking to the contractors, to the community, to members who worked on the site, that changed to 75 and then to 81. Currently, I'm just pleased that we don't look for 19 bodies anymore, because the site is empty. We've done our job. So it's actually good news that we've got the figure wrong of 81. So we stand at 62 people. Still heartbreaking for the 33 families who lost their loved ones. But from a search and rescue perspective, we're just glad that we don't look for another 19 bodies.
Now, Michelle, the next process now is the disaster management, handing over the site to the police services, South African police services, as they're going to comb through the evidence to find what the cause of the collapse was. Also, the Garden Route JOC team, which is the Joint Operations Center, will be handing over all the information they have and the data that they've collected throughout the time to the Department of Labor and Employment at this point, because that's when they need to start going through those files and paperwork, some of it that they were able to seize from the construction site at the satellite office that was here. So that is the next phase that is looking into this George matter now.
What an absolute mess, Sipha. So we were reporting on 75 initially. I think that was the initial number. Then really the number that we've been running with all this time has been 81. But now, as it turns out, the number is likely, and they seem pretty sure, 62.
Absolutely, absolutely, Michelle. 62 people, deceased and surviving were actually pulled out of the rubble. And it seems as though from the CCTV, now if you remember, Monday and Tuesday, when the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure on Monday was here, Salga was also here on Tuesday, they actually informed us that they've seen the CCTV footage where they saw, after the building collapsed, several number of the workers moving out from the rubble and running away from the construction site. So that number, that's also another reason why they have not been able to confirm the actual numbers. Now, when the building collapsed, the starting number was 69. Then after talking to the community, talking to the subcontractors, talking to those that survived that were working, then the numbers went up to 75. But from the further conversations then brought the numbers to 81. But it turns out even those numbers were not confirmed or verified. But if you also remember, I did mention earlier on in the week that that we've moved from saying 81 construction workers were on site to saying an estimated number of 81 construction workers were on site, because those numbers then they became to doubt the 81 people. And of course, finding 5 of those people that were supposed to have been on this site working at another construction site here in George, that's another revelation.
Yeah, look, ultimately it's good news. It means that there were fewer people on site and ultimately fewer lives lost as well. But it doesn't bode well for just the management of that site itself, right? And this is going to form part of the very many questions that the construction company and the developer now face.
Absolutely, Michelle, and it forms part of the investigation too. Processes from employment. How were the people employed? Do they have skills? What sort of specialized building skills within the construction and building industry do they have? How were they processed? Because if we're talking about not being able to identify or verify numbers and people not knowing or can't account for people, that means the employment process itself was flawed. The subcontractors that were given the job to actually physically build the building, how did they then come across the workers? But I mean, hearing from even Dalvin Sipha, who was pulled out last week Tuesday, the day after the collapse, he told us that he came from a subcontractor that came from Mossel Bay and was given an opportunity to assist and work on this construction site. So several subcontracting building companies were involved in building here, but it seems as though allegedly some of those subcontractors got the workers out from the streets here, and that's another process that needs investigation, and that's what, of course, the Department of Labor as well is going to look into, the processes of employment, because not having proper identification and registered on site, now we don't know the numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just absolutely not the way that you run a construction site where there are so many dangers to life, as we have seen. Sipha, Kema, thanks very much indeed for that update. I imagine you're also heading home soon. We'll see you when you get back to the office.